Hey guys, welcome back to Nee&FeeBrotherhood. This is season 1, episode 7, part 2. Again, we're here with Mr. Powers. It turns out we have a lot of stories.
Total package.
We still have questions for Mike. So we need part 2. I hope you guys enjoy it. I want to say hi to my dad. He watches all of our episodes repeatedly.
The true Mr. Fee.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to throw your father under the bus for this.
Go ahead.
Throw him under.
If you want to know what Mr. Melfi's father looks like, watch a 1970s police drama with the gold glasses.
Porno.
Mr. Fee's got it going.
I was going to say that, but I'm not going to say it about your father, especially since he watches it. He is literally out of central casting from a 1970s porn. That's just it. All right, you've thrown it out there.
God bless you. God bless you.
I think
Glasses.
if you ever see the movie Dick Tracy with Madonna and
Oh,
whatever his name
okay.
is,
Yeah.
Big Boy Al Pacino.
Yeah.
That's my father. Big Boy did it.
A true
Big
movie
Boy
star. Big Boy did it.
Big Boy did it. All right. I have a question on that. I'm gonna.
You want to go first?
All right.
Yeah.
So when we had Cliff on, he mentioned the psychology of bouncing.
Yes.
What does that mean to you, if anything?
Oh, psychology of bouncing.
He was sober.
He was sober. Believe it or not.
He was sober when he asked us.
Well, okay. Well, and I'm going to, before I answer that, I'm going to talk about one real quick thing about Cliff. Because when I first saw him, I actually thought he had some sort of
Disability.
oxygen issue. Because his lips were completely red. Type him out. And I'm thinking, well, if they're blue, he has lack of oxygen. What if they're red? Does he have some sort of viral issue with going on? What's happening? What I didn't realize is he drinks 2 bottles of red wine
Yes.
in 30 minutes.
Yes.
And that's why.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God.
Right. But no, I saw that, and I saw him talking about the psychology, and someone now got a job basically talking about
Baby Nat.
the psychology of it. The whole thing is at the end of the day, you just want to go home. That's really it. So when people talk about it, it's not being Superman. It's not trying to solve the world's ills. It's, I have to do something, and my point of view is, if something gets really stupid, I'm walking away. Now, it's funny, I like to say that, but I've never walked away. I've had people pull knives, broken bottles, multiple attackers, guns. And a 4x4.
Somebody threw a 4x4 at you?
No, he swung a 4x4 at me.
4x4 piece.
That was a very
It was a
important
big
drink
piece of
tonight.
wood. He came in from the back of a bar, Marty's bar in Portchester.
Oh my God.
Oh, Marty.
He came in with
I forgot you worked there.
Oh,
Yeah,
God. See, I was trying to
Marty's,
cut
I
that
forgot
one
about
out.
that.
Yeah.
Because, no, I worked at Willow Street.
Sam's?
Sam's? I've never worked at Sam's. I didn't like the owner, Sam. What he was.
Makes sense.
That was truly, at that time, it was literally nothing more than a dive bar.
Yeah.
Those were power drinkers.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there. I filled in, and one of the worst places ever to work or to do anything were the Irish bars. You had, now you had, again, Davy Burns in Portchester, but that was more just an Irish named bar.
Yeah.
But he also owned a bar in Stamford for a while. That was just pure Irish people. Playwright was just Irish. And Tegeen in the beginning was just Irish. Mm-hmm. And the problem with it is the bartenders would be like, all right, last call. People would buy 4 drinks. And then the lights would go on. You try to get rid of them. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying
I
here.
just bought 4 drinks.
What's his name was famous for that
Absolutely.
on Spanish Night, the Terrace Club at the end. You know, the one of the owners.
Yes.
Oh,
And then walk away.
Yeah.
And then walk away.
Oh, that used to make
And
me
I've
crazy.
had that other bars, but my whole thing was when I work at a place and somebody comes down and says, okay, no. I leave at X amount of minutes. And I'm like, if we have to clean up, we'll clean up. But that's it.
Yeah.
We're done. I'm leaving. I don't care.
Yeah.
So the playwright. No, it wasn't the playwright. Well, that was the difference. It was this bar that was owned by one of the guys who owned Davy Burns in Stamford. And it was just Irish, hardcore Irish drinkers. Mm-hmm. They called me up, and Brendan was the bartender, who's now moved back to Ireland. Mm-hmm. He worked at Davy Burns. Mike, can you help me out? I'm short-staffed. Something. I'm like, no, I want this. Can I help me? First night I worked there to help him out, I'm there till 3:30. Bar closed at 2.
Oh, wow.
3:30 because there's all these Irish people still drinking, and they're still getting drinks.
Well,
And I was like, all right, so whatever. I was like, got my stuff, was pissed, left. Second time, the owner, or Brendan calls me up again. I was like, I'm not doing it, Brendan, not doing it. The owner calls me up. Now, Davy Burns, I used to go there with my father, like on a Sunday, he'd listen to the Irish music, whatever, and so I knew him since I was like 14 years old, so he calls me up. He's like, Mike, I was like, listen, here's what happened last time, I'm not doing this again. No, I was like, here's what I will do. You pay me right up front the minute I walk in, and at 2:10, I'm leaving. I don't care what's going on or what they're doing, and let them know. Oh, no, okay, that's fine. So I walk in. I was like, by the way, you got it. And Brendan was trying to like, no, we'll do it at the end of the night. He's like, no, we'll do it right now or I'm leaving now. He pays me, and I told him, I was like, I spoke with John, 2:10, I'm out of here. So what's going on? And sure enough, they're giving, right before last call, they're giving away all these drinks, all this stuff's going on. The lights go on. And I just walk around, people need to leave. People need to leave. Everyone's laughing, joking. I'm like, oh, 2:10.
It was a typical reaction, too.
I was like, all right, Brendan, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But what? And there was like 40, 50 people there. I was like, what do I do? I was like, you shouldn't have served them beer. I told you, this is the right reason why. 2:10. I'm out. Yeah. So I leave. I just get in my car and I'm done. I worked Temple one night because one of the owners called me up and said, Mike, I just need help. Something happened. The guy got sick. Can you just cover for him? I'm like, no. He's like, please, I just need you to do it. I was like,
this is
no.
when it just opened, too, right?
No, it was open for a little bit.
Oh,
but they got killed because, again, it was all Irish woodwork. It was supposed to be.
Yeah.
They spent so much money doing that.
Yeah.
But then Temple opened up and killed most of their business.
Yeah.
Tegeen opened up and killed a lot of their business.
You're talking about Playwright, right?
Playwright, yeah.
Playwright downstairs, which was kind of like shitty.
Yeah.
Like you could eat off the floor downstairs, and that's where the bathrooms were.
Yeah.
It was absolutely gorgeous for
There's
no
bands
reason.
down there too, right?
Every once in a while, yeah. And St. Patrick's Day, forget about it.
Yeah.
The line to get in, what would you say? Like on St. Patrick's Day, Playwright in the beginning.
Oh, you'd never get in.
Probably-
If you didn't get in by a certain time. That
Probably
was
you
it.
weren't there by 6 p.m., 5
Yeah.
p.m. You were
And the
done for
parade
the
went
night.
right past it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I worked.
They like drop people off.
And-
at Playwright.
Yeah.
There was this person. I never worked with her at the bar. She was dating somebody who worked at the bar. And I think her and her cousins were going to be in Stanford. She asked me, she's like, are you working? I'm like, no, I'm going to be. And this woman, I love her to death, but she's the world's worst person to be around at a bar.
Drunk or just in general?
No. She's a great person, but if there was a female that had ever come to talk to me, because I was single back then,
Okay.
she was like scaring them away, and I'm like, don't you want to go talk to your boyfriend at the bar across the street? I was like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Oh, no, whatever. When we worked at Terrace Club, he'd go to Portchester to Davy Burns.
Yeah.
He'd be off talking to a group of people, leave his girlfriend around. I'd say hi to somebody, and she'd be like, oh, leading up. I'm like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Again, if she called me right now, I'd go, I'd help her out, her family. But she blocked me more than anybody else on the face of the
Really?
planet.
Now, is this intentional or is this unintentional the whole time?
No, it was just, I'm thinking it was unintentional. Now, if my wife ever sees that, she's like, no, that's not unintentional. Blah, blah, blah.
Go eat a hot pepper and leave.
Look at hot pepper.
So I'll tell you about that story because
So real quick, Mike's wife, who is Italian, thinks she can
thumbs
eat
up, yeah.
hotter food than I can.
she can.
This has been going on for years. We've never gotten together. We can't find a place that has hot enough wings for either one of us. We've never really sat down and ate peppers.
You will lose horrifically.
I've been hearing this. But okay.
Okay, let's get on to, let's do this one. So, she was dating a guy, I don't know, what do you call him? The electrician.
Which one?
Yeah.
The tall one.
Oh, Tall
Bill.
You are,
Bill.
okay, you're referring to as Tall
Tall
Bill.
Bill.
Or Young William.
Young William. Tallest Billy.
So
Tall
Tall
Billions.
Bill's
Air.
girlfriend.
that.
Oh, that one.
So,
I always put La in front of it. La.
I know.
So every time,
Yeah.
we hung out on the weekends. We'd go to the movies. During the week, we'd go out to dinner. It was me, her, and him.
Yeah.
Like the three of us.
Yeah.
We'd always go out and hang out somewhere. Do something. But, so we'd be out. That girl blocked me more than anybody else on the face of the planet. What?
La.
Oh, all the time.
Crab shell type block, like on Sundays, like when everybody's out. Remember we all beat down there?
Everything, anywhere,
okay.
whatever. I couldn't, if I was going to talk to somebody, meet up with somebody, I wouldn't bring her. I wouldn't go hang out with Bill and Donna at all. Like,
Ah,
as I throw her name out there.
pixelate that.
Donatelli Versace. That's
Yes.
what he meant to say.
But it was the funniest thing. It happened all the time. And then because then her friends were like, oh, well, I'm friends with her and she's dating Bill, so I have to be let in. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know you. Stand on mine. I'm like, unless you're with her, you mean nothing to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, go pound sand. But with the hot stuff with my wife,
Okay.
I met my wife in graduate school. What do you like? I sat there.
Mm-hmm.
I met her there. We start dating. My brother was renowned for his barbecues and his spicy food. I can't have the threshold he has. So he had made chili, makes great chili, and he made his hot chili. And he's showing around, and this is the first time I've ever seen this, and we've only been dating for a couple weeks at this time. And he's like, oh, and he's like, this is the hot chili. And I was like, I eat hot food. I'm like, okay. I can't eat it. I know how hot he makes it. He gives her a little spoonful. She's like, okay, it's nice. He's like, oh, well, maybe I didn't mixes it up. Maybe you got the part that's not hot.
Yeah.
Mixes it up, puts a lot on it this time. She eats it. She's like, okay, it's a nice flavor. Then my brother was like, oh, well, I must have mixed the thing. Mind you, one's a 5-gallon jug. The other one's like a quart. So somehow he mistook him.
Yeah.
He grabs a spoonful, throws it in his mouth. All of a sudden, his face turns red. He's like, he's got snot coming out of his nose. He's like snorting and whatever. I'm like, oh my God. My wife, well, I wasn't my wife at the time.
Yeah.
My girlfriend likes spicier food than you do. Oh my God.
Yeah, wow.
I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I was like, your reign of the Spice Master has fallen.
Finished.
But we went to a spice event. You know, it was they actually all these sauces, everything else, and they had dry meats and whatever. It was
Right.
Williamsburg, Virginia. So we'd go from like one booth to the next, and people are saying like, "Oh, you want the really hot stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, can I get the really mild stuff with my legs?" And they give you these like little samples, and I'd be like, "Is this for you?" And also be like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, my wife can just eat anything."
Oh my
We'd
God.
go get like Thai food. There was a nice place in South Norwalk for a while, near the Maritime Aquarium, which is no longer there. And I'd go, and she'd order. She'd literally look for like the 3 or 4 jalapenos,
Yeah,
which are
yeah.
the really spicy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
zero. And I don't want the spicy food.
And the glass of milk, please.
Yeah.
And I go in there and they're like, oh, we like it when, you know, really big men order spicy food. I'm like, that's not me.
That's not me.
It's my wife. I was like, I don't know how to do it. But she's done spice challenges. She's gone to places, and I'm like, I'm not doing them. I'm not going to these places. I was like, they're absolutely horrific. But she's never lost, ever.
my God.
Now, I will say, I will admit, since the birth of our daughter, she's like, oh, it's changed a little bit. She's like, I don't know if I can eat as spicy as I used to. And I'm like, well, that's between you and him. I'm not getting involved in
Has
this
your
at all.
daughter shown any signs
Absolutely
of...
none, thank God.
No, okay. That's it.
So I have to sit there and be like, yeah, my little tiny little human being is going to eat like spitfire food. And be like,
She wants a yellow anaconda.
Yeah.
this is not like, yeah, nope. Like that whole like ghost fire chip and everything.
Oh, Ghost Fire.
I like that like one chip you have. I think the
Yeah.
first time I saw it was like Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
I can do this, and all of a sudden he's like, ugh. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's what they were all laughing at.
I was
right?
like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, I wouldn't even bring it into her because I don't want the smell to be around.
Oh, yeah.
That's my threshold. Like, I don't even want to know it's close.
It's like pepper spray in air. When the cops spray it on you, it's like all over the place.
My God, the Stanford cop who lived by it. You know, everyone has this, you know, the pepper spray that you would put on your belt. He had the canister he took out of his truck or his cruiser every single time, and then he'd be like, and he'd spray it on the ground near people just to get it to their attention. And then when people turned around, he would just spray them. It was like a fire extinguisher of mace.
I know what you're talking about.
And you had talked about that fight where like Chuck was on the floor with some guy
Yeah.
because he went out because the girl ended up getting cut in the eye and all this stuff. And then like one of the guys just started it.
He watches.
He's
He's a fan. I love it.
He pulled out his tin saying he was a Portchester cop. And again, I am from Portchester. I worked in so many bars. I knew the guy. And I told the cop he's not a cop. He's using the other guy's ID. I knew who this guy, and I'll tell you right now, it was Danny. And I'll tell you Danny's name if this ever comes up.
Danny.
But Danny used, I don't want to tell the cop's name, but he used the cop's ID. And because he was a cop, they let him walk. Then they found out the girl who got injured, her father was a lieutenant in the police force somewhere.
So wait a minute. Are you talking about the girl that had her forehead sliced and the skin was hanging down?
Yes.
The flap.
So the guy she was with was not a cop?
No. It wasn't him. The guy who threw the bottle at him.
Oh, he was with other cops, though.
He was with other
Okay,
cops.
all right.
He was not a cop. But when they pulled him aside, because people pointed him out, he used his buddy's credentials to tin himself out.
I didn't know that because I was fighting with the boyfriend in the kitchen.
I saw that in the video. Yeah, that was bad.
Boyfriend wanted blood.
Oh, it was just
that was disgusting.
And then you had like
and those guys are friends. The biggest of that group is good friends with Pterodactyl.
Yes. Oh, I remember one night, Terrace Club. I was standing up on the box underneath the spotlight. There was hardly anybody there, but I'm like, let me just stand here, whatever. So the big guy's girlfriend is at the round bar.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the big guy's with a friend of his. They go to the bathroom. So now there's this drunk guy. He's like, hey, you want to dance? And I'm like,
wrong girl.
He's like, shh. He goes, hey, buy a drink, dance. Hey, yo,
baby.
No. He's like, shh.
You be quiet.
Yeah. So here comes the big guy and the friend. He freaks out. He grabs the guy, he throws him towards that side door. Mm-hmm. So I jumped down. At the time, I was probably 260 something. I grab him around his waist, try and pick him up. So he's walking to the side door at the same time, kicking the guy out the door. And I'm dragging on like my toes. He's dragging. I was like, fuck, I let him go. Mm-hmm. And I remember him and the friend out the door, down the stairs, into a snow pile.
Oh, wow.
And the friend reaches into the ankle holster and pulls a gun on him. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This dude's a drunk. Yeah. You just beat him into a snow pile. Now you're going to pull a gun on him? You effing moron.
Freeze, Frosty.
Freeze, literally. Jackass.
That side entrance where they painted the frogs and everything else. And working the front door, it was like, okay, now you close it, not letting anybody in. And there was a guy we worked with. His name was Mike. He was on a talk show. Remember, he was the bodybuilder. He was the female who was in Hairspray. She ran her own talk show.
Ricky Lake.
Was it Ricky Lake?
Yeah.
He was on that talk show because remember they put it up on the screen and we saw it.
Okay.
He's like, oh, the makeup they had to put on me because I was so sweaty and shiny.
Was that guy working construction?
I don't know what he did, but he was just like jacked.
I think that's the guy who said the guy stole his tools. And when Chuck got kicked, he went and beat that kid up on the job.
Yeah. So there was some drunk kid who was in the parking lot, whatever, trying to come in. I'm like, sorry, we're closed. You can't come in. I'm coming in, whatever. I end up getting into a tussle. I grabbed him. I spun around. Now, you have to realize it's cinder block little walls. Yeah. It closes off with these metal doors. Then there's like a little path, then the stairs that go up, and then the doors to the actual building. So they built this little addition on to it, painted the walls, and they had the stairs. Well, the stairs are about 2 feet away from the cinder block walls. Well, me and this guy end up on top of in this little like alcove next to it. There are actually people walking into the bar.
Oh, wow.
There's no one there. I can't call for anybody. I can't get up because we're sort of I can't move. Even if I wanted to get up, it was like, and I had my arms around him, so I was like trying to move around him. Mike comes out, and he's like, Mike! And I'm screaming. Now, he's standing in the vestibule where there's basically, it's an echo chamber, the music from the nightclub's behind him. Yeah. He leaves, he walks downstairs, he can't hear me screaming for him. He walks outside, he's like, all right. So as he's coming back, because on the side there was like the little blacktop and there was like the stone.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So I'm kicking the stone, he's like, hey, Mike. He's like, did you fall down?
What you doing?
He's trying to help me up, and I can't let go of this guy because we're wedged in. He's like, oh, come on, Mike, let's get up. He's like, you all right? Whatever. Then he moves me, and he sees the back of the head of the other guy. He's like, no! He goes up the railing like Spider-Man, jumps over.
Yeah.
Grabs the guy by the head, puts it in like into the thing. I try to get up, and then we just basically drag him out and do this. And it was like the funniest thing. I'm just standing there. I'm like, 3 weeks are gonna go by, and I'm just gonna be here with this guy. Yeah. I'm like, hi, I'm a Virgo. I like long walks.
So what do you do for a living? Put a thumb in his eye.
And it was just like, and And every now and then he's trying to wiggle out, and he realizes he's not going anywhere. And then he's wiggling. I'm like, this guy's gonna throw up all over me. He's gonna like, but he's like face down, so it's all on him.
Yeah.
And then he's just gonna piss himself. He's like, this is just gonna be a horrible scene.
This is at the News 12.
Yeah.
Comes in.
Like the forensic scientists come in and be like, we hope this was just, detaining somebody.
I think they're brothers. They just thought it's a terrible story.
It was like the most uncomfortable thing ever. I'm like, no one's listening to me. I have no backup. I have nothing.
The music's so loud you can't even hear yourself.
And that was, hey, listen, the one great thing is never mind the people we worked with, but it was just like literally being at a club, people watching, same stuff, people having great times. That was always the thing. I like that. One of the things that I absolutely hated. Now I've been removed from it from a long time. So if I didn't work with you, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, where you come from, what happened. There are very few people who were like hanging around with the bars or friends or would be in a band or something. Other than that,
fucking scumbag musicians.
Yeah. I'm tone deaf. These motherfuckers play the piano and the guitar. He's like, oh, you hit these chords or whatever. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing.
What are you
doing? It means nothing to me. No, that's like a C sharp. You can't you hear? I'm like, no, it sounds just like the chord you played before. And I'm like, no idea what you're fucking doing. And I'm like, see, now the first time I use vulgarity is with you in the music. I have no competency for it. But I have people come up to me, hey, Mike, what's going on? I'm like, I'm sorry, my name's not Michael.
Yeah.
So now people are going to watch this and be like, I knew that. Yes, I know who you are, and I've denied knowledge of you completely.
Yeah. Of your existence.
I don't say it. I had one person, my hometown now where we live, the same little deli I go to every single morning on the weekends, grab like some breakfast sandwiches, pancakes for my wife, maybe a couple, whatever, go back home. Somebody's like, two people in front of me turns around and was like, oh my God, Michael, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, my name's John, which is my brother's name. And now these people know who I am. Like the minute I walk in, the people work there already know what my order is, know everything. They get everything set. Yeah. And it was the daughter of the owner. She was standing there, and this woman's order. And Gabby, thank you, Gabby. She picked up
Gabster.
That I said John. So instead of saying, oh, Mike, whatever, blah, 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 she's like, John, what do you... And the girl was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you guys look alike. I was like, no, it could be. I'm like my brother Michael, so I'm only assuming you think it's him. Whatever. Knew who the person was. Knew their family knew it, but just nope. Yeah. Deny it all the time. I see people around like, hey, didn't you? Nope, wasn't me. Don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't there. I could actually be talking to one of you. Somebody can come up like, hey, didn't you guys work? I'd be like, not me. Yeah. I don't know about them. I've never been into a bar. Yeah. Really. Yeah. Deny it completely. And people sit there and ask, why don't I? No, I don't do it. When I first met my wife, when we'd go on dates, we'd go to movie theaters, dinner, people come up. Hey, Mike, and that's when I was sort of acknowledging, talking to people. Hey, Mike, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. After about 2 or 3 months, she's sitting there with this. She's like, are you embarrassed to be with me? Oh. I'm like, what? She's like, well, people keep coming up. She's like, you don't introduce me. I'm like, I don't introduce you because I don't know who these people are. Exactly. I was like, no, I couldn't. She's like, that doesn't happen. I'm like, they come out all over. I was like, thousands of people a week would see me. I don't know who they are. Yeah. They would see me. Yeah.
And they swear that they're best friends with you.
Oh, yeah. We go back years. Yeah. We used to have conversations. And I'm like, and by the way, if you ever talked to me while I was working, every minute of it, I was wishing you would to go away. Yeah, no and leave me alone. Yeah. And so I was it was the most horrific thing. But yeah, she said, I was like, I don't know who these people are. Yeah. And then we went out, hung out with Tall Bill. And she's like, I'm like, Tall Bill, this is one of the many questions, and I'll bring this other one up. She was like, oh, what about people coming up to you? He's like, I have no idea who they are. It happens all. And as we're saying this, somebody comes by like, hey, I'd like to buy you guys a round of drinks, whatever, that's okay. hey, great seeing you guys again. Yeah. I was like, oh, nice seeing you. Yeah. Who are you? Like, we have no idea who that is. No clue who that is whatsoever. Zero. And she's like, oh, that really does happen. I was like, yes, I'm not excluding you. I just don't know who these people are. Yeah. So if you go by a bar and you go through a guy and you meet him for about 5 to 10 seconds, don't think you're friends with them because they have no idea who you are. They do it day in and day out.
In fact, you probably called you an asshole about 10 times without you knowing.
As soon as you walked away.
So when I met my wife, we were going out. We went to some restaurants or whatever, people who I've known. They've either worked in the bars or restaurants that I've worked in and now own their own places or manage other places. And she's like, oh, and I told her, I was like, I used to work in bars and this is what it is. And she's like, oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. She lived in Stanford and she lived on Tresser Boulevard. And she's like, oh, we used to go to Temple Bar all the time. She's like, do you know anybody that works there? I was like, well, yes. I was like, I used to work there. Oh, she's like, I never saw you there. She's like, but I remember the guy with the Snapple bottle with dip. I'm like, if you saw him, I was the guy standing next to him who checked your ID. No, you weren't. I was like, there's no way you got into that bar during this period of time that you didn't walk by me. Okay, maybe there was one night, or if I was in the restroom, somebody stepped in. But if you were there every weekend, religiously, you walked by me. She's like, no. And she's like, well, I remember another guy. And she's like, I went up to him and she's like, oh, I thought I'd like hit on him and ask him a question. And I was like, oh, who is he? Well, I don't know how to explain it. He's really tall. And I'm like, well, Tall Bill. I was like, you hit on my friend? I was like, you know the guy I'm going to the movies with tomorrow? It's Tall Bill, because this is right when like Lord of the Rings started coming out. And we were doing the midnight showings and she didn't want it. I was like, yes. I was like, so you hit on my friend? Now I'm busting chops with her because she didn't know me. I didn't know who she was, so whatever. She's like, yeah, but he completely ignored me. I was like, that's Tall Bill.
That's Tall Bill.
He's just been like, I'm not interested in talking to anybody right now. He's like, And it was like not until the end of the night where he's like, what are my options? Do you have a chance?
You talked to him at the wrong time.
I was like, no, that's the secret. You know, anybody who knows Tall Bill, you got to wait towards the end of the night, 10, 15 minutes, because other than that, he's not thinking about anything, doesn't care about anything. He's just like, then he's like, okay,
I went on a double date with him, and my girlfriend, her friend, who is right in his wheelhouse. Looks wise. Right in his wheelhouse. So he shows up at the place, he never looks at the girl, doesn't acknowledge her. She's trying to, ask questions, and he's like one-word answers. And I was like, this motherfucker.
This guy.
Because I know at the end of the night, I'm going to get questioned by my girlfriend. It's going to be one after another. What's the matter with him? Oh, he's fucking Tall Bill, man. He's Tall Bill. That's how he is.
Now, here was the thing, because Chuck and Brian opened up the bar, Lamone, in Greenwich, on the top of Greenwich.
Yeah.
So me and Tall Bill go to sit there and order something. So we were going to stop by before we go to Terrace Club. So as we're sitting there, Tall Bill's 6'7". I'm 6'1". All right, not a small guy. 90% of my height comes from my torso. I have short little legs.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there with Tall Bill. And Lamone had this huge, behind the bar was just this mirror. And I'm sitting there reading something. Then Tall Bill's like, smacks me. He's like, get up. He's like, you need to get up. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, we need to switch seats. I was like, okay. So I'm sitting in one seat, he's sitting in the next. He wants us to switch. Then he's physically moving one chair to the next, going back and forth. I was like, what is your problem? He's like, we're the same height when we sit down. Something's not right. It's not right. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, we are the same height when we sit down. He's like, I'm 6 inches taller than you. This isn't happening. So Brian brings whatever we're eating to the table. I was like, okay. I lean over to eat. I'm still sitting up. Bill, because of his long legs, has to sit down. He jumps up off the bar. He's like, oh my God, you have no legs. Now, if you've ever been with Bill, like he'll reach across the table to grab something. He's like, wait a second. Short legs, short arms, really big head. You're the world's largest dwarf. I know I'm going to be standing next to this guy at a club all night with him calling me a dwarf. And at this point in time, I was living at the house I grew up in, but nobody else was living. I was living in there by myself, and we never locked the door, never did anything. And I'm on what was called a landline. I don't know if some of your viewers know what that is.
Remember what that is?
I'm on the landline talking with somebody. Bill walks in. Bye! We got to go. And the reason why is Bill would swing by from where he lives, pick me up, and then we'd go to the thing, and we'd come back to Davy Burns at the end of the night. Of course. Because the reason why he would go to Davy Burns was that he had to drop me off. It wasn't he was picking me up out of the kindness of his heart. He was doing it because it gave him a reason to stop by Davy Burns. So he picked me up, and then he wore this black motorcycle jacket.
Always.
That was like double-breasted of some sort with this little belt to it. He gets up at the top with like a black t-shirt and black jeans and his black boots. And he just got off there. He was like, now again, he's 6'7". He goes, the dwarf dance, and starts dancing on the hallway to the next. And I'm on this landline with somebody, complete awe. Like, I can't say anything. I'm like, I'm like, what do I say? But wait, it gets better. There's more. As he's wobbling from one side of the hallway to the next, he stops, spins around, and then he's like, the dwarf dance. I was like, what the fuck? I just witnessed. I'm like, you are insane. And he's like, then he just turns around and just does it all back down to the stairs. I was like, what the hell is going on?
All I can picture is the, I think it's a Prezza commercial. It's on now. The guy goes bowling, immediately gutter ball, and he just starts going like this. That's all I see is Tall Bill.
And so I'm scarred with the thing, Tall Bill doing the dwarf dance, him doing the chum the water dance.
Chum the water.
And then going through all this. But oh yeah, so now, again, some of the most, invigorating stories or knowledge or experiences that have ever happened come from these places.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, no, I don't know you. No.
Yeah.
Again, if we didn't work together, don't talk to me.
Right.
I have no interest in it. But then, like some of the bartenders, like Brian, again, if you're a bartender, then you consider to work. Like Brian and his wife. I don't know if you mentioned her name, but you called her something different. So I won't throw her out there. But I run into a lot of people and I see them. But I'm like, I'm with my wife, hanging out and out with my daughter. Yeah. I'm with my family. I don't want to sit there and catch up on old times.
Right. No, not at that
Not
point.
with that. No, definitely not.
Well, go on.
I just had a question.
Yeah, no, I
for
know
you.
you got questions.
This is for me. The moment I knew like these guys were gonna become family for me, and the question is to you is when was that moment for you? But for me, I'm not sure if you were there, but the position you were talking about next to Big Dave, and a fight breaks out at that bar, like up against the bar. So I think I was at that position. So I jumped from the little window thing to the bar. Fred on top of the bar. Somebody, Golden Boy. And then the rest of the staff are there. And people are like this. But now they're looking up like. And I look around. I thought they were looking at me. They're looking at Fred and Kim. And they're literally ready to come do an aerial assault. like on these people. And there's like women like. We should go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, and I look around and like at that, and just in that moment, it was especially when we always talk about the fights at the end of the night. I was like, these guys are like family because I never thought I was by myself, and I'm just gonna have to, go in like that. And meanwhile, two other guys climb on top of the bar, and it's a Big Sean moment. I don't think you worked with Big Sean, but Big Sean looked like young Frankenstein, and he had a size shoe foot, like maybe 15. So before he was bartender, he was a bouncer, and he stepped on the little thing for beer, and it caved in. But it caved into his footprint. So they were like trying to accuse me of doing it. I go, no, look at the footprint. Everything's all dented in like that. And like, the one that we don't mention, it was all like taken out of their pay. But at that moment, we all stuck together, and it was right there, and it was like, it was just a little silly fight. Nothing ever happened. Nobody got hurt. People got removed. It was done. I was like, this is like a small little family.
Yeah.
When was that moment for you? Periscope-wise.
I'll take a step back when I first realized the people you work with, you have to rely on immensely. That you're not taking on all these people and that's one of my big things with a certain type of martial art where people talk about it. I'm like, great, that's great when it's one-on-one. But what about his friend who has a size 15 shoe who does the Irish jig on your ass? It's like, I got this person tied up, he isn't going anywhere, nor are you.
Yeah.
And his buddy is basically just stomping on your head and waiting to pop it like a zit.
Yeah.
So that becomes it, and then you have to rely on the people who are around you.
Yeah.
And when I was at Willow Street, it was Rob 1, Rob 2, and his brother Hassan.
I remember him.
And the guy was like a medic in the army, just went from like undergrad or from high school to medical school, or a corpsman. Well, he was a corpsman. He was a medic in the army. Was down in Texas. He did so well. They were like, "We will send you to undergraduate school and then medical school if you stay in the army." He's like, "No."
Yeah.
And he left. Now, what we would call today, he was on the spectrum. Like he would be way off, like and just do stuff, but extremely brilliant guy. And he was 6'5", 6'6" himself. And there was a fight, and again, bottles and glasses, and I'm like, I could just hear somebody like rustling around with the bottle, and you hear, he got tackled by Rob too, who was like, and he just came back, and he took the guy and just like threw him out, and you realize, okay, sometimes your back is exposed, you can't take on everybody or deal with everything, and you got to rely on that. But But Terrace Club, the first time that had happened, was literally the first night that happened, because when I got there and I rushed to the floor...
Oh, with Cliffy. Yeah.
With Cliff, it was... most of the people were right there dealing with what was going on.
Yeah.
And not everybody. I'm not going to say everybody, because there are always those people who are just like, oh, I was coming. I'm like, the bar.
Yeah.
You can literally from one side of the bar to the next in less than 10 seconds with a packed crowd.
Yeah.
We're talking 5 minutes later, and you're still like on your stand trying to warn people.
With the spotlight.
We had... that was sort of one of the big things that the core group of guys that were working there. The next time was... There was... he was in the Marine Corps too. He was a good friend of the two brothers. It's funny, because he's on one of my social medias and we post stuff every now and then. He used to work the door with Tall Bill.
Oh, right.
And there was a fight. We were like switching podiums, and he was right near the front stage. And there was a fight on the dance floor. And he took one guy off. Or I take that back. There was a fight. I came down. The guy was wrestling. He had his ass in the air. Whatever he was doing. I just grabbed him by the belt and curled him up and continued running with it across the bar. But as I did this, somebody else, who I think was somebody he was fighting with or one of his friends, went to go do something. And the guy who was the Marine comes basically running over and flies over on top and just takes out the guy completely out. So now I'm like, all right, that's done. And I'm just running with this guy. Now, this story, because we used to wear these green jackets.
Like Hunger Games.
That would make you sweat.
Yeah.
You know, they had no breathability to them. It was like wrapping yourself in saran wrap or whatever. So you have to like keep one button open here or just tie it with one button or the string they had.
The string, yeah.
Because it was like you needed air flowing through this thing as much as possible. So I bring this guy up to the front door. Cops are being called, this stuff, whatever. And then the cop at the front door is like, Mike, he's like, you need to go in. Covered in blood. Just the whole thing is covered in blood. This guy's like Monty Python, squirting blood, like just by the flesh wound. I'm like, well, screw this. I just basically like flicked him. He just turned around. I think he ran away.
Yeah.
And I go into because when you're coming from that side entrance, your first door into your left was the kitchen.
The kitchen, right.
I go in the kitchen. I rip off I rip off the shirt that I have on, and my jeans are down to my ankles.
Clorox. You take the Clorox.
I'm taking the Clorox over
over
the sink, and it's a big commercial sink for dishwashing. It's not like this little tiny sink. It's like 4 feet wide, 2.5 feet deep or something. And I'm leaning over it, dousing like all off my shoulders. This bleach. Tall Bill's sister is there at the time. Donna comes in. They're trying to sit there, and I'm literally in my underwear, my pants down around my ankles, and they're like with rags wiping all this bleach around.
Yeah.
And then once there was like nothing on me, I had nothing. I didn't see any blood to begin with, but just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And then I got to rinse all the bleach off and everything.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things. It was like, all right, people are there to help you out, to watch your back and do everything. And that was the thing, because listen, when I worked at Mornings, I was by myself. Yeah. That was the one thing I hated. And I'm not doing it anymore, but if I ever went back, or if I could ever tell myself back in the day, don't ever, ever do that again, working bar by yourself. Yeah. That's the worst thing ever. Even on special events, when I worked in a place in Westport, you'd have Billy Joel played there, like on a private event. I'm like, who's the director, the Academy Award-winning director, who like married his daughter?
Oh,
Woody
Allen.
Woody Allen. He played there. He plays like the flute or something.
His wife does.
Well, he does something, but he had special events.
Week.
And it was like, again, it's people are paying thousands of dollars for a ticket. You're not really expecting much. You just all I was there to do was just to keep people who didn't buy a ticket out. That was it.
Yeah.
That was the entirety of it. Most of these events were black tie events, but even that, I was just like, I don't want to be by myself, because you never know. You get one drunk person,
that's it.
You don't know what they're going to do.
With a friend. Yeah.
Or you find out that the guy who your
or the
wife
very
is banging,
angry woman.
Yeah.
Now you can't physically touch.
Right.
That was that. When I started running shifts, and when I actually started hiring guys at places where I would work, there was a guy I used to have with me because he had no problem like just locking up a girl and throwing her out, grab him by the hair and be like, he never hit anybody or beat them, but he just didn't care. He just grabbed them and be like, nope, you're out.
Yeah.
You're done. And the place in Westport, there was a fight between two girls. Guy's there with his girlfriend. His brother's younger sister comes home from whatever, sees him at the bar, runs up, gives him a big hug, wraps her legs around his waist with the girlfriend standing next to him.
She doesn't know who she is.
So the girlfriend grabs the girl by the hair or the back of the shirt, pulls her off. Big mistake, because the younger sister who wrapped her legs around it kicks her like in the head, puts her arms up, kicks her. Then when the woman gets dazzled, grabs her by the head and does a jumping knee kick.
Oh,
and
Muay Thai.
Wow. And the girl goes flying back, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, that was a good shot. I'm like, this was clean.
Is over.
Muay Thai.
That was clean. And
Muay
then
Thai
all of a sudden, I see out of the corner of my eye, because now I'm sort of approaching it. I see this guy, and I won't mention his name because he has nothing. He just walks across, grabs the girl by the back of the hair, goes whoop, and she's basically being dragged. It's like, nope, you're out. Yeah. That's it. We're done. This is going home. You're leaving. Whatever. And like, no concerns. Didn't hesitate. Just grabbed her, just dragged her. She's on the ground, grabbing his hand. She's flapping her feet around. There's some guy that she's with who's standing like, oh, but she's here with us or whatever. It's like, no, she's going home tonight.
Yeah. Well, chivalry is officially dead on that last statement. Bye, Mary.
I mean, women had no problem throwing beer bottles, fights, whatever. And then they would be like, oh, you can't do anything to me. And you're like, all right, but you know what? I'm calling the cops. I was like, I'm not getting involved in this.
I remember one night at Terrascope, there was the fight on the dance floor. It was pretty much control. Everybody's on the ground. So I come over, I'm just standing there, and this chick grabs a beer bottle, like this.
Full?
I don't remember. That I don't remember. Picks up and was going to hit the groundhog in the back of the head. And she's saying this, I'm like, what? I grabbed her hand, I grabbed her by the back of the hair. I didn't even bring her out the side door or the front, I put her out the back. On that platform in the woods.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Go with the bears.
There's like a swamp area back there.
Yeah.
Then always someone like trying to sneak in, and then you always you'd sit there and you'd be like, okay, it's like, why did it just get 3 degrees in? It's like, oh, there's someone over the back door trying to sneak in.
In the floodlight, shining in. It's a dark place. Yeah. Now the sun's out.
Me and Tall Bill were back there one night. I think we were walking past the door to the right, and this dude is pissing. Bombed out of his mind, like pissing right in front of the door on the rug. So I kick him. He goes through the door, falls onto the platform. Now he's pissing on himself. Tall Bill thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. He was hysterical. He's pissing on himself.
And we'll give an FYI of the inside scenario that people who work at bars know or whatever. The men's restrooms at nightclubs and bars are disgusting. Yeah. The female bathroom is horrendous.
Yes.
There's a layer of huge of water. I'm like, what has happened here during the night?
Little angel.
Oh my
and
God.
her friends go in there.
It is
and you can't even put it on television. How bad
it is disgusting. If you ever had like, what was that thing where they had to eat stuff or do the dare with Joe Rogan?
Oh, with Joe Rogan. Yeah.
So the whole thing was, if you were challenged to eat something and eat it off a men's bathroom floor or a woman's, choose the men's. Choose the men's. No matter how disgusting you are. Women, because again, at the end of the night, you got to check the bathrooms, make sure there's no one in there, passed out or whatever. Exactly. You also have to check the female bathrooms. And again, you'd send someone in.
And it would always start off, not it.
But you had to do it. But you'd walk in, it was like, slide. And it was like a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of just like what? Like, what happened in here? That made this, because you go in and check in the beginning of the night, make sure there's nothing wrong, that everything's there. And it's just like clean, everything's fine.
Well, I do know from just talking to girls in general, the rule is there's no public dookies allowed. There's no public dookies.
Nope, that is
so of course, somebody public dookie. So she filled it with toilet paper. I guess she had a creamer. She couldn't clean it, and now she has a floating problem. Girls don't care. They've been drinking, hike the miniskirt up, and go, Pearl Harbor from there on. Do a half squat. For 4 hours. Half a squats are going all over the place. And then we have to go in and say, and abandon ship. Dookie patrol. And nobody would do anything. They just accepted it.
Oh my God!
That's your sweet little honey buns.
Oh, and to go back, and here's a place that some people may know about. It's the CBGB in New York City.
Yeah.
They had one bathroom.
Yeah, one bathroom for everybody.
And it was disgusting.
Was that the bottom of the stairs or something? Was that?
No, it was on the right hand side in the back. right in front of
You're
the
talking
stage.
classic CB.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
this place was,
Like
it was absolutely horrific. Like, even if
when
you
the
had a
police were
urinate,
playing there, the remotes.
you don't want to be there. Like, you didn't want to
Like,
be
you'd rather
there.
go out in the
I was actually,
street.
it was a remote show.
Yeah,
the
the
first time I was there. I was
remotes.
like, oh, gotta go see it. And I'm thinking it's this big, huge theater.
Yeah,
Nope. No. It was a tiny little hallway of a place.
Yeah.
And
Graffiti.
it's absolutely disgusting. It was the most disgusting thing where I was like, no, I don't have to urinate.
Yeah.
I'm not touching anything else, but I just being in here.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that is what the women's restroom in most places look like at the end of the night.
Yeah.
It is just disgusting. And I'm like, someone's taking this woman home
Yes.
and thinking, this is it. You know,
This is my angel.
can't get any better
And
than
might
this.
put their
This is
mouth
another
down there.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Kale
There's-
pectate.
But again, it's some of these things you talk about. And again, when men or whatever, I think that's sort of self-explanatory what men will do.
Well, we had a trough for a urine, but
Oh, yeah.
we all just had. You just kept your eye focused. And
Yeah,
did
stare at
what
the
you
wall,
do.
stare
Yeah,
at the wall.
Stare at the wall.
What
What are you looking at?
Hey, it's just, you know, but
Yeah, we had a guy dying there too. Remember?
Oh,
The guy
yeah.
on a ballroom night.
Yeah.
He had a ballroom,
Oh,
and
well,
they gave him mouth to mouth in the bath.
Blech.
Guys, that was a good thing about that place. On Wednesday nights was ballroom. On Thursday nights was country.
Country.
And that was sort of like a nice place. So I actually liked country music. I still like country music, but I like the older stuff. I don't pay.
Oh, the
Yes.
older stuff is country music.
Merle Haggard.
Today, I don't know
Well,
what.
no,
it
not
is
even
today.
Merle Haggard. We're talking like late '80s to '90s.
Oh, I'm going like traditional
you're
guys. Yeah.
doing stuff when they still basically made sure that you weren't
Johnny
on TV.
Paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I come in with the guitar.
Take
Take
on
a
that one.
job, you should. Here to work.
But here's the other thing too: is you have to realize how long ago was that? That was in the '90s.
None of us were born.
That was the '90s, and I'm like turning around. I'm like, go carry the one. I'm like, that was years after I started, and I'm like, that's like 25 years ago. I'm like, I was like, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh yeah. I'm like, this is sad. And I'm like, and it comes back down to, it's like, oh, did any of that ever like cascade into like injuries or stuff like that? That like, oh, the shoulder hurts, the legs hurt, the knees hurt, the body hurts. It's like, but it, again, you know, anytime, especially at that place, there was a multitude of people and it was good. And again, the majority of them were really good. Some, again, I can't say everyone was good because at that place there was just so many people that it was just some of them, even though they were really nice people, it was like, yeah, you need to find something else to do. This is not your forte.
I think we all agreed that started with Fluff. And Fluff, as nice as Fluff was, there were a few people that hated Fluff, which I don't know why. Because he was never a malicious guy.
No,
And
he was
he didn't
quiet,
talk,
right?
he didn't, very
Yeah.
quiet, yeah. And he would try to join in, and they'd be like, "Shut up!" Like people like
Shut up, Fluffy.
openly rude to him, like
Shut up, Pluggy.
Well,
Plunster.
don't forget the twins we had working there,
Doug and Duggar.
Doug and
Duggar.
Duggar. Now it's funny because I spoke to one of them today.
Mm-hmm.
He's a client of mine as it is right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I hated them when I first saw them because they were so good looking. I mean, like, and here's the thing.
Women went crazy for him.
I would say they're like the people, but actually one of them was the Playgirl Playmate of the Year. And now I'm wondering why he's working at a bar with us, because I'm thinking it comes with millions of dollars, speaking campaigns. And he's like, no. He's like, I got like 30,000. My aunt put that in a trust account for me, like an investment. He's like, I don't use that. And he's like, I got paid small little stipends for showing up or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? But girls, and they had like zero body fat.
Yeah.
Well, was he the one that was on MTV that did the nude?
Yeah.
They put the little palm tree in front of his.
No,
privates?
they put the state of Florida over
State of
his
Florida
Johnson.
over his Johnson.
And I'm like, wait, no, I saw that show. It wasn't you. He's like, no, that's me. I'm like, no, you're sitting on the beach naked with your leg open thing. He's like, that's me. I'm like, that is not you. There's no way that you're on MTV and then showing up here
To work at the terrorist club.
and, you know, zero body fat, completely tanned hair, like long hair and ponytails.
He was like the ultimate warrior.
Yeah. But it was like, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
And the two of them,
I've got
like,
30K. That's why.
girls would walk by,
Stop.
like always stop to hit on him.
Yep.
You see girls crying. What happened? He wouldn't talk to me. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what the hell am I going to say?
It's the nature of the business.
And I'm like, don't come crying to me that the guy who looks like a god isn't talking to you.
There's always me.
It was always me, Apollo,
That was
cousin of
third cousin
Apollo.
of Apollo.
my thing. Like when I work, people are like, oh, you always look so mean. I'm like, One, I have a face that when I look at something, you can't see my eyes. I don't. It's like resting bitch face nowadays. But that's what. And when I got to look at your ID and I'm looking at that and I'm going back and forth because that's what I mostly did at the doors. Then I'd go inside, and it's like dark places. I'm like, I'm not happy. I'm not there to talk to people. I'm not there to associate with these people because I don't know who else is going to do something. Yeah. But there's a lot of people. Again, there are some people who like were regulars who I've known. I had an instance when I worked at a bar. The guy came, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you have the Forbes list of wealthy people, and then his family, who's so wealthy, doesn't even get on the list. It's all private money. It's all private money. And I won't say that his family owned the private candy company, because that would just be saying too stuff.
That would be saying too much.
But he comes out, great guy, English, funny as all hell, lived in Westport in this beautiful place on the water. Came out joking. And would always be there, nice person. Like, hey, you want coffee? I'll go get someone to get coffee. I'll get this or whatever. Really nice, really close friend with the owners. Had every single privilege, whatever, but never abused it. He'd always ask, like, hey, can I do this? Oh, hey, I'm going to come in. I'm bringing a couple people in. Hey, but it was one of those things. I was like, sure, no problem. And you didn't even have to ask me. That's like, he was one of the true close friends of the owner. Yeah. Whether I like the owners or not, I knew that he was connected with them. Yeah. Comes out to talk to me one day, stumbles, whatever. He's now having, he's overdosing. Right behind him were these two twin brothers, and they were both dentists. So I went over and I grabbed one of them. And I was like, he's ODing, take care of him. So what happened is when he came back like a couple weeks later, he's like, Mike, he's like, I thought we were like sort of friends, we were close. He's like, you know, when I had a problem, I'm like, okay, did anybody tell you what happened? Well, no, they said when I fell down, you walked around me. Like, yes, because the twin dentists were standing behind you. So who was more capable? Me, 21 years old at the time, who has no idea. I think I have a CPR license or certification at that time, or the two trained medical doctors. Great, they're dentists, but I'm pretty sure their medical training far exceeds what I did. Yeah. Then they did that. So then I went and called 911. The tooth. And I said, and I told him, I told him, hey, by the way, not only this, but he's overdosing on narcotics, and that he prefers heroin. Then I found his dealer, who we knew he was, because if you have a bar, there's always a dealer somewhere.
Not too far
I grabbed the dealer, and I told him, give me what you gave him. Well, he's trying to play bullshit. I smacked him against the wall. I was like, listen, if he dies, trust me, his parents are going to find
jail.
Yeah. I was like, give him what it is, because they're going to have to basically take care of it. Yeah. I was like, tell me what it is, and give me it. So he tells me it's some mixture of heroin and something. So when the medics come flying in, I'm like, listen, he's ODing. This is what the dealer said. Here's a sample of what it is. So again, I don't know what the hell they did, but it was the best I can do. So he had no idea any of this was going on. I'm like, speak to your dealer. I pushed him and I cornered him to make sure he told me what you were taking and then to get a sample. I'm the one who called the police for you or the ambulance in 911. I spoke with the paramedics when they showed up to get you there. And I was like, and when you were in the hospital, remember that whole bouquet of flowers? He's like, yeah, Aww. That came from me, you idiot.
Aww. All you did was lay there.
Yeah. So it was one of these things that it was just like, you know, but he turned around, and now this is one of the stories. He knew, he's like, all right, let me take you out. Let's go somewhere. He's like, I'm going to rent a car, which was a limo. Yeah. There was no like SUVs back then. It was a limo. Yeah. So we're going to go out Monday night. We're going to go out into the city. It's going to be great, whatever. So it's a nice little venue. There's like a restaurant downstairs. This is almost like a very chic-y little place, not very packed. But there are people like literally off like movie lists. You can just start checking them. Gotcha. At that time, I had, my wife is going to say this and kill me. I had a crush on a supermodel. Like when I was a teenage boy. Okay. Like she was on Sports Illustrated. I'd do it. Like that was the extent of it. Like I would find her a place where she was doing autographs. Like me waiting in line was the closest her and I had ever gotten. Yeah. Well, Mark knew about this. Did I just say Mark's name? Yeah.
No.
There we go.
Okay. Candies.
There we go. Yeah.
Mark of Zorro.
The
movie. That's what he's
very good. He comes around. He's sitting there, whatever, and they're with a couple other friends of his or whatever, and we're just sitting there, and like drinks are coming by, whatever. Then all of a sudden, I see this very tall woman coming in, and she's wearing heels. I was like, all right, and there's someone behind her. Girl walks behind, like walks in front of me. The other girl comes to sit down next to me. It's the supermodel.
Supermodel.
What?
Who?
Elle McPherson.
Oh,
G'day,
very
mate.
nice.
G'day.
So now I'm like sitting there like a little girl going, hi. Hi. I can literally muster 4 words out of that's coming out. Now, the guy who, from the Candy family, starts laughing. He set this whole thing up. Nice. It's a joke. She actually has to go somewhere, but she was just stopping by as a favor to him.
Oh, nice.
Whatever. So she's probably there 10, 15 minutes. The most I've ever spent with her, whatever.
Yeah.
Except like stalking her from afar.
Far.
But it was it. And I was like, right there, that was the whole thing. It was the best thing that ever happened from working in things.
Yeah.
At a bar. It was just the funniest thing. I was like there. Then afterwards, he's like, don't tell anybody we're here. I was like, don't worry about that. Because I don't want you telling anybody how I act. Like, I'm thinking if I meet her, I'm going to be suave. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to have this huge diatribe of language. All I do is... I'm an idiot.
I got a quick question for both of you guys. Mine is, basically, what's the worst behavior you've seen from the opposite sex while working? Mine is Tiernan's. It's the end of the night. You're counting money. They don't want anybody to come in. Girl wants to come in and use the bathroom, and we've just gone over this with Cliffy. Nobody comes in for any reason.
Yeah.
The door was unlocked. She gets to the foyer, so she's where the ATM is.
Yeah.
I stop her. She can't come in. I don't know who was behind me, not coming. She goes, I have to go to the bathroom so bad. I'll just pee right here. And go, there's a convenience store next door. If you buy a piece of gum, they'll let you use the bathroom. That's all you got to do. You got 35 cents. I got 35 cents. Here, take it. Because, no, I want to use the bathroom here. Well, I'm sorry, manager doesn't allow it. She starts to pull down her pants. I go, don't do that. She goes, I'm peeing. I go next door. As I'm saying it, she gets the rest of her junk down, goes into her Johnny Bench, and just spreads it all out.
Oh, man.
And we're standing there, and she goes, I told you I had to go. And I said, you could have done that in private.
Yeah.
Like, you could have. Now who's going to clean that up? Is that fair? And I'm getting angrier and angrier there. Instead of her leaving, she's berating me. The bouncer that came across my right shoulder has now opened the door, and she's still arguing with me about it's my fault for making her pee on the floor.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I did it, but we take all the garbage out, whatever like that, and it's out there like that. And I said, you have to go.
You pushed her into the garbage?
The garbage.
Oh.
And she had like a medium skirt that went over her head, and like a tattoo that said, like right in the pubes, I thought it said skunk, but but it said something else.
I hope
don't know
it
what
did.
was.
I really
But, I mean, that's a skunk. I thought she was the skunk. But she's laying there in the garbage, legs akimbo, we're showing off all her junk, and I was just like, you made me do this.
Yeah.
You made me do this. This could have been so much avoided. And that from one other than the girl that you said I jacked up.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst one I ever had with a girl at a bar. What's yours? And Mike, what's yours after Eddie?
God. I remember getting in the fight with that construction family when all you guys were in the kitchen eating raw chicken.
We were eating raw chicken. Yeah.
The best chicken I've ever had.
Best
personally.
Uncle
We talked
chicken
about
ever.
that. So we're in the kitchen eating raw chicken because a party got canceled at the Terrascope. So there's all this chicken. It was just seared. We didn't know. Mm-hmm. So I decided to go out to the dance floor. I was talking with some people. And there was a private party. It was a construction family in Stanford. So this guy jumps over the railing onto the dance floor. So I go up to him. I was like, hey, man, you can't do that. And they were right next to the railing, the sunken dance floor. Somebody reaches out, grabs this shoulder. Somebody reaches over, grabs this shoulder. Well, I get in a fight with the whole family.
Yeah.
So I'm on the floor. I got the guy like wrapped up like this, and he's the one. I'm not gonna let him go. Mm-hmm. And the grandmother and the mother and the sisters and the aunts are kicking me with those pointy ass shoes, kicking me, and the music, kicking you to a beat. And all the guys are in the kitchen stuffing their face.
Yeah. We were like ravenous.
I took a beat, man. They were pouring drinks on me, kicking me. Come on. Finally, the DJ, Pete shuts off the music. Security to the dance floor. I was like, fucking thank God, man. Thank God. Yeah, that was the worst for me, I think.
Yeah, Pete, who works for a pool company, we'll just say works for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Pete. Pete was a DJ who never talked to security ever.
No.
Then he came to talk to me one day. I was like, whatever. What? No, nothing.
Who?
What?
I didn't say
anything. We were going to leave that there now.
Quack, quack.
When he comes up and he's talking to me, he's like, hey, what's going on? And his fiance jumps over. He's like, hey, looks at me and says, like, hey, Pete. And I was like, no, that's Pete. She's like, yeah, it's my fiance. She's like, but you, Pete. I'm like, that's not my name. I was like, I tell that to people I don't want to talk to. And there's a whole other part of that story where it means when I was looking for pools, I did not call a Pete.
Yeah.
And looking for that. But no, the worst thing, I'll tell you right now, June 2001.
Wow,
And it was
specific.
because it was right before I went to Spain for running with the Bulls.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody wanted me, and it was right before 9/11.
Yep.
So, in Amberjacks, South Norwalk, somebody wanted me to help cover the front door for a little bit. They were short someone. It was like, okay, whatever, I really don't want to do this. A girl who worked at a company in South Norwalk, they did a happy hour, a bunch of employees went out. It's the end of the night, things are going, and she wants to come in. I'm like, sorry, we're closed. We're not letting anybody in right now. She's like, but I have to come in. I want to come in. I still need another drink. And she's going, I'm like, sorry. Well, now she's trying to offer sexual favors to come in. She's like, oh, things we can do. Oh, we can have so much fun. I'm like, hey, ma'am, that's great, but no, thank you. I was like, so now she's like, what, you don't want to be with me?
Oh, you've insulted her now.
And now I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything. I was like, ma'am, I'm sorry, you just can't do it. Now she's standing there with another friend.
Yeah.
They're trying to come in. I'm like, no. And then now she's all hostile, angry, and she leaves.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, none of it. I go to Spain. I come back. He calls me up, says, hey, I know you're back. Do you want to work? He's like, I just need you basically to the end of the summer. I was like, I show up. The guy who actually owned it, who now I heard is now deceased, comes out and pulls me aside. He's like, Mike, I can't have you work here anymore. It's like, what happened? That woman wrote a letter to him saying that I would only let her in if she performed sexual favors on me. And I was like,
dirty.
that didn't happen. And I'm like, and the guy who runs security actually came out during the conversation, walked back in. So you could ask him. He's like, yeah. He's like, but they have a lot of parties and venues. And I was like, that's low. I was like, what company is it? Whatever. I was like, let me see the letter. Because she wrote it on corporate letterhead.
Okay. Tell me.
The company, because that was Amberjacks and next to it was a loft.
Yeah.
Was these two twin sisters, and they had an older sister. Came in there all the time, and she wanted to work there. Their parents owned that company. So when I saw one of the twins, I was like, hey, I got something. Who can I speak to at your company? Because somebody wrote a letter making all this stuff. And she's like, well, their older sister at that time was working there. She's like, oh, why don't you just talk to her? I knew who she was, and I spoke with her. And I was like, all right. I'm like, yeah. This woman. She's like, come by the office. Show me who she is. So there's me. I'm in jeans, in a shirt one day or in a polo, and I'm walking through, and I see her. It's like, that's the woman who wrote the letter on your company head saying that I made all these things.
Oh my God!
So she looked at it. She's like, all right. She's like, come on. And she's like, want to talk about this? Brings the woman in the conference room. She wasn't saying I felt triggered because it wasn't the keywords at the time, but she was saying something. She's like, okay. She's like, I've known him for 4 years. She's like, I've seen him work at bars, restaurants. She's like, my sister works with him, and she's. I've driven her sister and her boyfriend and other family members home at times.
Yeah.
And she's like, at no point in time did I ever feel, that they were unsafe with him around.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay. And she's just like, blah, blah, blah. She's like, tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. And the woman from the original writing was now making it worse and worse and worse. And she's like, okay. She's like, I don't believe a word you said.
Oh, wow.
And I never knew what happened after that. She just said, I don't know. And she's like, Mike, that's all I need right now. And I was like, okay. And it was that was the worst I've ever seen of somebody because their feelings were, not only were their feelings hurt, they got turned down. Yeah. They were in front of their friend.
How dare you turn me down?
And now, again, there's somebody else who was a complete and absolute witness who was probably giving her shit because she got turned down. It was probably, I don't know, I'm assuming it could be because
nobody turns down.
But then she had to turn around and sort of write a letter that basically shit on me. Yeah. And I was like, dude, what the hell is this? I was like, I had nothing. I was being nice to her, but I'm like, sorry, man, we're just not doing that tonight. Yeah. We're not letting anybody in. We're not letting anybody in. Now, because it was funny, because...
you think she was fired or not?
I don't know. Again, if you need somebody or whatever, but they just called her out to let her know, hey, we know what you did. Stop this. And you put it on our company letterhead. Yeah. But now it was funny because the older sister turned around and spoke with the owner of Amberjacks and was like, hey, that never happened. That letter should never have gone out, whatever. He never hired me back. Or... he never said I could never come back, but I was like, I don't want to do it. But he invited me and I had been previously to the Christmas party that Amberjack
Oh,
sends.
yeah.
Now, if anybody has never been to an Amberjack party, which never longer exists because it's now what, the Ginger Man?
Ginger Man, exactly.
They had lobster, shrimp,
Oh, they went all out?
filet.
Okay.
Like it was everything you could possibly have.
Oh, yeah.
And if you worked there, you didn't work that night for the Christmas party.
Yeah.
They'd hire people from other bars.
Yeah.
And if you worked there, you got paid for whatever. You got paid double shift plus a voucher to come back for a free meal for you, like
nice.
because you weren't having all this lobster, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he actually did really well. And actually, someone mentioned, and I think it was him, that he had just passed away within the past year. The owner.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, those Christmas parties were absolutely amazing. So he and when I'd see him around like in South Norwalk, he's like, I'm like, you don't have to bring it up again. It happened. It's done.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's just where it came down to. I was like, how somebody like would, leave it at that night, call me something, say something, but you actually had to go back to work the next week, write this letter,
And then
send it in, and then come back to something. I'm like, really? I was like, that's just like.
And who was she saving face for in front of her friends? They didn't even work that night.
But that was just it. I'm like, I don't know who this woman she was with. Was it like somebody she was trying to say, I have no idea what the story before was. I have no idea really what happened afterwards. But I do know, but that was just like one of the best feelings. It was like the Pretty Woman feeling. Like, you work off commission? Well, good for you.
Yeah.
I was like, you want to send letters on company letterhead saying I did something. And I was like, Again, after that, I couldn't care what happened to her. She never meant anything to me. And
Absolutely.
I wasn't required, I wasn't living off the money that came from Amberjacks. It was just a filling
right,
spot.
right.
Which is also the worst thing. And, because Amberjacks, working a busy night, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Thursday, working a Sunday night, when there's nothing going on and you're just standing there for 5 hours.
Did you do it in the summer when there was bands?
Sunday night. I did it at Loft.
At the Loft, okay.
Like I had done it at the Loft.
The music's so loud and you can't hear anything, man.
But it's just standing there. And it's like, okay, I'm literally just standing here thinking about whatever. It's like I have no one to talk to. I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
There's 15 people in the bar. And I'm just standing here, just, wasting time.
Yeah.
So, that it's like sitting in a doctor's waiting room for 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
Hoping this is over.
I just couldn't wait, just like literally just sitting there and then staring at a stanchion. And I remember one night I was there, I just kicked it.
Just to kick it.
I was just like, whatever was aggravating me, and I just kicked it. I just kicked the stanchion and it went flying. There was nobody in the streets. It was completely dead.
Oh,
And some cop was like, he walked over, I picked it up like just a minute or two later. He's like, are you okay? I was like, no, it's a Sunday night. I should not be here.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, and just walked away.
Just kept going. All's well. All's well.
But
We
this is your show.
got to wrap it up. It's we're like more than an hour now.
Are we?
Yeah, a quick hour.
Don't bring an Irishman on to talk about this stuff.
No, we
Talking
needed
about
an
bars and drinking.
And then when you were in Temple Bar, were you there with us or you were there before us?
I was there right before you guys.
Okay. So
because-
you weren't with Stan then, the bouncer from Yonkers. Okay. Or Jerry. Jerry from Ireland, the bartender.
No, I was there with Jerry.
Oh, you were Jerry.
We can have a 3-part
We
series
could
just
do
on
it
Jerry.
stuff on Jerry.
Just on Jerry.
And rest in peace to Jerry, one of the greatest Irish bartenders. Just like Mike said, you can't even go into it because it'll be another hour, and the video will just say F you and shut off.
F you.
But Mike, thank you for
Mike, thanks.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of fun. It was nice to see you.
Such great memories.
So
Absolutely.
remember, thanks for watching Nee&FeeBrotherhood.
Please like and subscribe. Please, if you love this
Thumbs
content, to get more of it, let us know you want us. Please comment.
Yeah.
Comment about Michael. If you know Mike's in a profession, we never thought he would go that far. So it just proves to you that because you're
we cut out
security,
a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because your security doesn't mean you're some dumb.
No.
This
We're
is
not dummies.
This is a true professional.
We're not just pretty.
And because when he kept calling me Mr. Powers, it's actually Dr. Powers. You're going to say it correct.
Doctor.
If you're going to say it, say it correct.
Dr. Gynecology.
Hey, it is what it is.
But please, you guys, we'd love to spread this even further. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, please. And Inez, Missy, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Missy, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm lying down. Time for bed.
Okay. All right.
Floor. I see her on the floor. Oh, I'm not clapping for that. All right, guys. Rodney, give him the line.
Guys, the brotherhood has spoken.
It has.
We love you.
A lot tonight. All right. Peace.
Peace and chicken grease.